You wake up. You drink your coffee. You make a plan for Tuesday, for next week, for next year. We all live with this invisible, confident assumption that we have time. But sometimes the clock stops. A car crash, a sudden aneurysm, a heart that just stops beating. It is the ultimate tragedy. A life cut short. We look at a young person in a coffin and we scream at the universe. Why? It's not fair. I wasn't ready. But what if we are looking at it all wrong? What if the tragedy we see from the outside looks completely different from the inside? There is a story from the life of Saint Padre Pio that rips the veil off this mystery. It's not just a ghost story. It is a terrifying, beautiful glimpse into what happens in that split second after the heart stops. Padre Pio, the mystic who bore the wounds of Christ, didn't just pray for the dead. He often claimed to see them. And in this specific account, he saw something that challenges everything we think we know about death, judgment, and the mercy of God. The story begins with a young man. We don't know his name, and that makes it haunting because it could be anyone. He was vibrant. He was energetic. He had his whole life mapped out, and then, in a violent, shattering instant, it was over. The physical details of the accident don't matter as much as the result. Total, abrupt silence. For his parents, the world ended that day. They were drowning in that specific, suffocating grief that comes when you don't get to say goodbye. They were tortured by the question, was he saved? Did he have time to pray? Was he lost? While the family was staring at a lifeless body, Padre Pio was looking at something else entirely. He was looking at the reality behind the curtain. He saw the young man's soul. And here is where the story gets incredibly specific and incredibly human. You might expect a soul to be instantly transported to a courtroom or a heaven, but Pio described the soul standing right there next to the body. The emotion the soul felt wasn't fear. It wasn't joy. It was shock. Absolute, paralyzing confusion. Padre Pio described the soul looking at its own corpse like it was a riddle it couldn't solve. He was trying to climb back in. He was trying to animate the limbs. He turned to his screaming parents and tried to speak, tried to grab their shoulders, but his hands passed right through them. He was shouting, "I'm here! I'm right here!" But the silence remained unbroken. This is the harrowing reality of the transition. The spirit still carries the momentum of life, slamming into the wall of death. He was suspended between two worlds, untethered, panicked, and painfully aware of everything he had left unfinished. But then the atmosphere shifted. The chaos of his confusion was interrupted by a presence. Padre Pio saw an angel materialize beside the trembling soul. Now, usually, we picture angels as these baroque, chubby babies or stern warriors. But this angel was described as a force of immense, stabilizing compassion. The angel didn't drag him away. The angel didn't read him a list of his sins. The angel simply delivered a piece of information that changes the entire theological game. The angel communicated to the boy that his readiness for eternity had nothing to do with a calendar. It didn't matter that he hadn't lived to be 80. It didn't matter that he hadn't checked off every milestone. The angel revealed that God does not measure a life in years. He measures it in desire. This is the pivot point. The young man realized that his unfinished love for his family wasn't actually unfinished. It was just changing frequency. He saw, in a flash of divine insight, that he could protect them and love them more powerfully from the other side than he ever could have with human hands. The fear evaporated. The panic of too soon was replaced by the peace of perfect timing. Padre Pio watched as the soul stopped fighting, turned away from the body, and stepped willingly into the light. But this story forces us to ask the hard, logical question. How does that work? If you die suddenly without a priest, without the last rites, without a formal confession, aren't you in trouble? We have this terrified idea of the particular judgment, the moment we meet God, as a cosmic trap. We imagine God with a stopwatch, waiting for us to slip up so he can say, "Too bad, you didn't repent in time." The theology behind Pio's vision argues the exact opposite. The Catholic Church teaches that death is a fixed point, yes. It is appointed for men to die once, and after that comes judgment. There are no do-overs, no reincarnation. But the nature of that judgment is often misunderstood. It's not a courtroom where God lists your crimes. It's a moment of total, blinding exposure. St. Thomas Aquinas suggests it's an instantaneous illumination where the soul sees itself exactly as it is. All your lies, all your excuses, they burn away. You see your own orientation. Do you love God or do you love yourself? And this is where the speed of grace comes in. This is the hope for anyone who has lost someone to a sudden tragedy. God is outside of time. He sees the whole film strip of your life at once. He knows the secret, quiet desires of your heart that you maybe never even spoke out loud. There is another famous story attributed to Padre Pio that explains this perfectly. A woman came to him, devastated because her husband had committed suicide by jumping off a bridge. In the Catholic view of the time, this was often seen as a one-way ticket to damnation. She thought her husband was lost forever. Padre Pio looked at her and said something profound. He said, "Between the bridge and the river, he repented." Think about the physics of that. Gravity takes a few seconds to pull a body down, but a thought, a movement of the human heart, that takes a nanosecond. In that terrified plummet, the man's heart cried out to God. That is all God needs. That is what we call perfect contrition. Sorrow for sin that comes from love, not just fear of punishment. This is the mechanics of mercy. The young man in Padre Pio's vision, the husband on the bridge, they weren't saved by a ritual they didn't have time for. They were saved by the orientation of their hearts, which God could see even when the world saw only tragedy. This doesn't mean we should be lazy. It doesn't mean we should assume we have time. In fact, it means the opposite. It means the desire for God is the most important thing you can cultivate right now, today, because you don't know when the clock stops. You don't know when you'll be the one standing next to your body, wondering what just happened. Padre Pio's vision tells us that the veil is thin. It tells us that our grief, while valid, is only half the picture. The young man wasn't taken too soon. He was taken when his soul was ready to step into a love that is safer, deeper, and more real than the air we are breathing right now. So for everyone we have lost, for everyone whose life feels incomplete, we send a prayer. We trust not in the timing of the world, but in the mercy of the architect who knows exactly what he is doing.